What's going on, YouTube? It's your friend RDAP Dan here. Hope you guys are having a good week. It's Wednesday, and it's not going to be ladies' night tonight. We didn't have anything to bring to you for the ladies tonight, but all these videos are for men and for women, so even if you're a woman, this video is probably for you. And we're going to talk a little bit about PSR RDAP and Second Chance Act and how this all kind of works. Seems to be a lot of confusion, a lot of questions going on about that. So we will discuss it a little bit, making sure this live stream's connecting here. And we're going to give you another update on RDAP Law Consultants, because it just never ends with them. I just keep getting more and more interesting information sent my way. So some pretty interesting stuff to talk about today. And is this working? Are you guys there? If anybody's in the chat, let me know if you can see and hear me, because I'm not seeing it on my side. Oh, looks like we're live now. Okay, there we go. All right. So we're live now. I'm not sure what was taking it so long. Welcome, guys. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Every day, people helping people, community is method. Make sure if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. It's easy. Just tap the subscribe button that's on the video. There's also a bell that you can tap to receive notifications. Makes it pretty simple to get updates. What's going on, Jesse? Welcome. I know you're getting sentenced, Jesse, pretty soon, or was it you're taking your plea soon, or you're getting sentenced soon? I can't remember exactly what it was that you had that you told me. And as you can see, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit today about PSR, RDAP, and the Second Chance Act, and how all of those things kind of intertwine just a little bit. Getting sentenced. Diane, how you doing, Diana Woodson? Happy you could join us. Welcome, welcome. So before we jump into that, let me give you guys just a little update on what's going on with RDAP Law Consultants, in case any of you are out there. If you're watching this video and you've been approached by RDAP Law Consultants, or you're a client of RDAP Law Consultants, these last few videos should be some information for you. Sarah, Jesse, Jesse's getting sentenced. Man, when you get out, Jesse, there'll be all kinds of videos waiting for you, so don't stress it too bad. Robert, what's going on, my man? So if you are or have dealt with RDAP Law Consultants, it's really important you do your homework, do your research. And I actually got, what's up, Billy? I actually got an interesting call today. So it seems like these guys just keep creating more and more problems for themselves. All I needed to do was post about it, and they continue to open the door. So they filed a complaint with a detective today saying that we were harassing and spoofing them. I'm not sure what spoofing means, but from what the detective told me, somebody called them and said they were from Channel 5 or some news station up there by them. And I guess the number that came up on their caller ID actually was a number to a news station, but apparently it wasn't really the news station. So whether or not somebody did this or not, I don't know. Hey, Jenny, we got Jenny in the room, so you guys will see, you'll see me typing with no hands. That's our amazing Jenny Good. But so I was speaking to this detective, and actually he called the lady that came on and actually did the last Wednesday. She's the one that outed them and had the audio recording of their voice call. They tried saying that she was calling, harassing, and threatening them, which is completely not true. Let's start off with that. But the detective doesn't know that, right? He's following up on a lead. So the report was filed by, what's his name? God, what are the guys' names again? Geez, his name just jumped out of my head. I'll think of it in a minute. But anyway, so the report was filed making this claim that spoofing, harassing, threatening phone calls or whatever. So she calls me up like, oh my God, they're making up these lies. I'm like, it might not even be a real detective, first off. So give me the number. So she gives me the number. I call the detective. Ends up being a legitimate detective. And I'm like, and he doesn't understand. He goes, I'm really not sure where this came from because it's pretty vague. So then I go into all the other information about what they've been doing, the proof that we have, And this guy's ears and eyes, you can just see it lighting up through the phone. He's like, wait a minute. You're telling me that, and I've got all the proof, right? So I've got the emails, the text messages that they've sent, telling people to go and pretend like they're addicted to drugs and lie to therapists, pretend like they're addicted to drugs in order to try to getting into RDAP. All of these just crazy stuff that they've been doing this entire time. So I send all of this to him. And he's blown away. He watches, I sent him a link to the YouTube channel. He's like, wow, it's convenient they didn't mention any of this. And I'm like, what's convenient and interesting is why would they even bring it to your attention knowing that this is probably what would come from it? Clearly, they have no leg to stand on and they are freaking out right now. So they're going so nuts. There's a website called Upwork. Upwork is a website you can use to hire like freelancers if you need help building a website, or if you need, anything done, personal, like creative writing, slight work. A lot of it's done overseas. A lot of people here in the United States, but you go to Upwork to find people that can do it for an inexpensive price. So I got a call or an email from one of our RDAP consultants' employees yesterday morning. I got a call an email from one of their employees saying, hey, this is what they just posted about you on Upwork. So they went on Upwork. They posted a description saying, we're looking for an attorney that can dig through my videos on my YouTube channel to determine whether or not I'm giving legal advice. They're so frustrated right now. They're trying to find a way to shut me down by any means possible. And I was pretty prepared for this. But yet, if you go to any one of my videos, at the bottom description of any one of my videos, it's actually on, even on this video, you go down to the bottom of it, and there's a disclaimer on there, making sure none of you mistake me with attorney or take anything I say as legal advice. We've got a disclaimer on every video at the bottom of the description telling you, do your homework. What we're talking about is for entertainment purposes, to make sure that you're not mistaking with what we're saying as any type of legal advice. So clearly we're not trying to give legal advice. But if you have been taken advantage by RDAP law consultants, since they opened the door and they got the detective involved, who's now going to be investigating them. Let me give you that detective's information. I'm going to post it. It's in the description of this video also, and I will post it right here. There you go. So Detective Arsenault of Grand Rapids Police Department. That's his phone number and his email address. And it kind of jumped it together there, but if you want to see it kind of broken down, just go into the description of the video and you can pull it up at any time. So if you're watching this video later and you're not seeing the messaging, it's going to be in the description. It's right under the link to the video where we expose them for their shady practices. All right, so enough of that. RDAP law consultants, geez. Never thought I'd be talking about them as much as I have, but they keep just opening the door and slamming it on their face. So they should just let it die, right? You'd think they'd have a better chance of just leaving it alone instead of poking. They've got nothing to poke with. It's like their house is lit on gasoline and they keep lighting matches. Guys are not very bright, and they're probably going to have a serious, nasty legal investigation come down their way. At least I hope so, for everything they're doing. So, as we said, PSR, RDAP, Second Chance Act. So there seems to be a misconception out there. What's up, Sarah? I know, right? Sarah's like, seriously? For real, that's what we're going through right now. Spending way too much time on RDAP law consultants. I should be like a paid spokesperson for them. These guys are pissed. They've created a fake website, a fake reviews website, giving me a bad review and giving all other prison consultants a positive review, thinking that we wouldn't know it was them. We already got the proof that it's them. These guys are just not smart at all. About the dumbest bunch of guys I've ever seen, to be honest. Anyway, enough about them. So, thank you, Sarah. I'm glad you're obsessed with our channel. So PSR, RDAP, and Second Chance Act. There seems to be, and I've actually heard this from other prison consultants, and I'm like, where are you getting this information from? So they're telling a lot of potential clients and people that are going through this that you cannot get RDAP and the Second Chance Act together. I don't know where they're getting that from, but that's completely not true. It doesn't mean you're going to get it, but you can 100% benefit from RDAP. And when I say benefit, time off, whether it's 6, 9, or 12 months, in addition to getting up to 12 months additional halfway house. Those two things can be combined. Prison consultants, when I correct them on this and explain that I have received this myself, I got 12 months off for RDAP, and I also received 11 months federal halfway house. So let me explain how halfway house works. Okay, so before the Second Chance Act was put into play, prior to the Second Chance Act, the BOP was required to consider people for 6 months of halfway house. Doesn't mean they had to give it to them, just means they had to consider them for 6 months. After the Second Chance Act went into play, the BOP then was required to consider people for up to 12 months. Again, does not mean they have to give you 12, 6, or anything. Just means they had to consider participants if they qualified for the Second Chance Act. So we've got prison consultants out there saying that the only reason I received it was because I must have cooperated. Cooperation has nothing to do with you qualifying for Second Chance Act. Whether you have 5K1 or no 5K1, that plays zero, or it should play zero role in you qualifying and receiving additional halfway house time. Things that help receive additional halfway house time are not pissing off the BOP, not trying to stir up problems where there are none. Look, we can all, and this is one of the things I was talking to with one of my clients today about some stuff she's heard from other prison consultants. She's talking to another prison consultant, and she's getting a lot of negative information, a lot of bad information, not bad like not true, but bad like, well, the BOP stopped doing this, and they're no longer going to do this, and they're taking this program away. It's like, okay, look, you're already freaking out. You're already getting ready to go to prison. You've already got enough to worry about. We can sit here and focus on the negative all day long if we want to. We can talk about all the things that might be wrong with the BOP, just like we can talk about all the things that might be wrong with the world and what might be wrong with the government. Almost any aspect in our life, if we want to focus on the negative, we can. However, what good is that going to do anybody? So I told her, stop focusing on these things. And if you're feeling like this person is making you feel worse than you were, then it's up to you to convey that to the person in a respectful but assertive, communicative way, where you're letting them know, going, look, I get it. There's a lot of negative things, but what are the positive aspects of prison? It's funny. You'll see two people go to prison, and you'll see one person come out and just tell you how horrible experience it was and how unfair everything was. And you'll see somebody else come from the same prison and tell you all the benefits they got from it and how they were able to turn their life around, or maybe not even turn their life around, but how they were able to find the silver lining in what they learned from going to prison. You do not have to make this the worst experience of your life, but I can promise you, if you're getting fed information that's negative, what you're doing is you're building yourself up to go into prison with all of this animosity towards the Bureau of Prisons, when most of us, I'm not going to say everybody because I don't know, but most of us put ourselves into a situation that is now allowing us to go into the BOP. The BOP didn't find you. They didn't plant drugs on you. They didn't plant a conspiracy in your backyard. You did something that allowed them to have you in their line of sight. And you put yourself in there. You exposed yourself. Once you've exposed yourself, now what happens. It's part of the consequence. That's why we have to stay focused on consequences. If you can't focus on the consequences, then you have no right to get upset when shit goes wrong. If you can focus on consequences and say to yourself, okay, these could be the consequences of my actions, and I'm willing to live with it, or I'm willing not to live with it. If you're not willing to live with the consequences, don't do it. Don't make the decision. Make a different decision. People make good decisions every single day that will probably never ever go to prison. And a lot of us know those people. A lot of us that are getting in trouble for the first time offenders, nonviolent offenders, white-collar criminals. A lot of us know people that have never been in trouble and probably never will be in trouble. And we don't like being in trouble. And sometimes it's hard to take that responsibility. Identifying that we placed ourselves into harm's way, put our family in harm's way, taking ourselves away from our families. Sometimes it's easier to blame because it makes us feel better about the situation we're in because we're not taking accountability. So that's the conversation I had today, and it was a long conversation, and I'm not sure that I got through to the person, but I hope I did, or I hope maybe planted some seeds now and later on they'll sink in. But the important thing to focus on, we got Renita Blunt in the room. She reached out to me after seeing the video about RDAP Law Consultants. She was a client of RDAP Law Consultants, so feel free, Renata, to share your story in here about RDAP Law Consultants. And if you're just joining us and you're late, Renita, there is a detective's information in the description of the video that I spoke to today that may be interested in hearing from you about your experience and things they told you to do prior to going to prison. So feel free to reach out to them. Thanks, Billy. I appreciate you, my man. coming from a goon. Billy, Billy's an ex-goon. So when you want to prepare for RDAP, okay, the mental preparation, and it's interesting because I went to a sentencing yesterday. As you guys know, he wasn't a client. I say client because that's the phrase that always comes to my mind. He didn't pay me anything. He's a guy that lives in Idaho, stayed over. He was getting sentenced. He has a minimum mandatory of 120 months. A lot of you guys saw that video. I posted it yesterday. But he wasn't terrified. He was pretty composed, ready to get it on, ready to get started. But his family was very, very much kind of out of sorts. What's prison going to be like? He's telling them it's not going to be a big deal, but he's worried that they think he's just saying that because he doesn't want them to worry. So me and Shelly, we went and met them yesterday in Idaho for lunch at Chili's, and we sat down. There was 8 of us total. So him plus 5 family members and us went to Chili's, and really to spend a good hour talking to his family and listening to what their concerns were and doing our best to try to, obviously we're not going to get rid of the fear and make it go away, but we're trying to reduce it and give them realistic expectations that he was likely either going to go to a camp or going to go to a low security prison. It was very expected for him to get remanded yesterday because the judge he has never allows anybody to self-surrender that has a minimum mandatory of 10 years or more. Doesn't allow anybody to self-surrender. We had all of his family there. He had a really good allocution of what he read to the judge. His family was very supportive. A bunch of other people showed up. There was about 20, 25 people there. Good group of people. Everybody was there to show support. Everybody was positive. Nobody was screaming or crying in the back. Everybody was composed. And he did a very good job in his allocution with taking responsibility and not playing the victim and not blaming it on drugs or anything like that. And the judge, or the prosecutor, did not. Well, originally the prosecutor was not agreeing to allow him to self-surrender. The prosecutor was opposing that. The defense counsel asked for self-surrender. The judge asked the prosecutor what their objection was on that. And the prosecutor said, originally, Your Honor, we were objecting this. However, after seeing him today and hearing what he had to say and seeing his support, we do not see a problem with it. And you could tell the judge was not used to doing that, and the judge allowed him to self-surrender. So he got to go home yesterday. So for him, that was a huge, huge victory. Not to mention, he was on the cusp of camp to low. That just gave him a 3-point reduction on his custody level, which now more than likely he'll probably land in a camp. And on 10 years, RDAP, good time, halfway house, who knows, 6.5, 7 years, and he might be home. So it was a huge victory. So what we try to explain to you guys, the judge said something. That was the point I was getting to. I'm all off the beaten path here. So what the judge said is, look, I'm going to make a recommendation for RDAP. But if you're trying to get into RDAP just to get the time off, you're getting in for the wrong reasons and you're wasting your time. What the judge doesn't know is the judge doesn't know what RDAP really is and what's really involved because he's never been there. And if I wanted to talk so bad, it was so hard to sit there and be quiet. Like I wanted to say so many things that I felt would have been relevant to the situation. But really, I think the important thing for you guys to know is everybody wants to get in RDAP for the time off. That's okay. It's okay to want to get the time off. It's okay if you want to lie to yourself and say, I want to fix myself and I want to be better for my family. Maybe you mean it, maybe you don't. Deep down inside, you want that time off. We all know it. We all want the time off because we're coming home sooner. The cool thing about RDAP is even if you get into RDAP with the mindset of, I just want to get the time off, you can't get through RDAP without learning something. So regardless what your intent was to get into the program, halfway through that program, you're going to start benefiting and taking on new habits and creating new skill sets and new ways of thinking that you didn't have prior to going into that program. So I tell people when they ask me, well, when I do my RDAP interview, is there anything I should say? I'm like, look, I'm not going to tell you what to say. It's in your PSR or it's in your substance abuse report from the counselor. You've got the qualifications for it. What you say to the RDAP coordinator, it doesn't really matter. There's no wrong answer unless you're going to say, I don't have an addiction and I lied on my PSR. That's about the only thing that's going to get you kicked out during the time of your interview process when you actually get to prison. What I saw that seemed to be an amazing answer because in RDAP, once you get into the program, your first day of RDAP when you're in the morning meeting, every new person is required to stand up. And the RDAP coordinator will actually one of us will stand up and say, this is what you do. We give an example. We give an example of what they need to do on their first day. We'd say, so we need you to tell a little about yourself. And basically it's going to go something like this. My name's RDAP, or my name's RDAP. My name's Wise. Everybody goes by last name. My name's Wise, RDAP participant phase 3. I'm from Florida. My drug of choice was marijuana and alcohol. What I really hope to get from this program. And that's where people don't know what to say. The average person's going to say, I really hope to better my thinking and become a better person for my family. But once in a while, you would see that person go, my name's Wise. I'm from Florida. My drug of choice was alcohol and marijuana. And what I hope to get from this program is some time off. Can he say that? You would see all like everybody looking at each other. And then you would just hear the RDAP coordinator, Dr. Smith, go, you know what? I love that. That's true. You're being true. You're being truthful right now. We know everybody wants the time off and you're not in here lying about it. And I'm really, really proud that you could be so open and so honest. And it was like, wow, that was really honest. And the RDAP coordinator appreciated it. You know why? Because she already knows it's what everybody else is thinking. She also knows once you get deeper into that program, the roots of the program are going to grab you. They're either going to grab you and get you into it, or they're going to expose you and see you're not progressing and you're not working, and they'll remove you. So there really is no real faking it through the program. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't going to graduate RDAP and fall back to old ways. You still got to practice. You still got to maintain. You still got to go back to some of the basics. You still got to stick with your RDAP Dan wristband or your RDAP bracelet, whatever you got. You still need to stay focused because you can go back to old ways. But the program is designed to bring stuff out of you that is not there. And what better way to do it than hold a year over your head? That's why they do that. That's why that incentive is there. So it all starts with your pre-sentence report. So back to the reason for this video. PSR RDAP Second Chance Act. Sorry, my computer's trying to restart. It's told it to wait an hour. Trying to update. It all starts with that pre-sentence report. You guys, when I talk to people that think they're know-it-alls and think they have all the answers and they're going to talk to us a couple times over the phone and have it all figured out, we then see later on that they don't have it all figured out, that they're doing things out of sorts, or they think they're so smart that they've got all the answers. Well, look, your best thinking got you to where you are today. So this is a good point where you want to like maybe give up a little bit of control and accept help where it's being offered. When you get into that pre-sentence report, you need to be well prepared for it. Not prepared to bullshit the probation officer, but be prepared to be able to think, make notes, know what you're going to talk about. They're not going to give you time frames to go, well, what were you doing during this time frame? They're not going to give you that magic window of what they're concerned and what they're looking for, whether or not you qualify for RDAP or not. Their job is not to qualify you for RDAP. Their job is to take down what you say, put it on paper, send it off into your PSR, and then it's up to the RDAP coordinator to qualify you for RDAP. But if you are not prepared and ready to be completely honest about substance abuse, whether it be alcohol, marijuana, prescription pills, hardcore drugs, meth, heroin, snorting pills, whatever your issue might be, if you don't understand how to explain this, and maybe your attorney has a misconception of how this works, and he's telling you, don't mention that because it's going to hurt your chances of probation, or they're going to give you a lengthier sentence, or they're not going to allow you to self-surrender. You need to question things. I'm not saying that your attorney is right or wrong. I'm not here to give you legal advice, but I'm telling you, you should question your attorney and know the facts for yourself. This information is out there. You can read about it. You can come to my videos. You can call me. These are things you need to know. Because if you position yourself properly and you're honest and you've educated your probation officer doing this report through your life, if you have it stated in your personal narrative and you've prepared your personal narrative prior to your pre-sentence report, that can have a huge impact at what happens on that day. And more important so, what happens on the day of sentence, and more important so than that, if you qualify for RDAP or not. These are things that if you don't take serious and you think you got it all figured out because you got all the magical answers and you've got your degree and you think that you're, a brainiac, that could cause you some problems because you might have that mentality. I don't need anybody's help to solve my own problems. We tell you guys one of the services that we do to help with the Second Chance Act. Now, it's not guaranteeing you're going to get it. One of the things that we do is prior to your release, when you get to about a year left, we have a paralegal that will help you create a motion that you guys need to file. In that motion is going to explain all of the things that you've done from pretrial through your prison sentence, classes you've graduated, programs you got, certificates, role model, how you've been a role model in prison, how you stayed out of trouble. There's a reason why we don't want to submit that to the judge now, because you're not giving the judge any real reason to say, yeah, I want to give a recommendation for the Second Chance Act to this person. The judge might go, well, you haven't done anything. I don't know what you're going to do in prison. Why do I want to recommend something when you haven't even started your prison sentence yet? Or he might just say, okay, sure, recommend. But there's no reason why it's being recommended. There's no history in there to show why it was recommended. We had another person today that, just knowing what we wanted to do, told me today, oh, I went down to the courthouse and filed that. I'm like, you filed what? Well, I wrote a letter to the judge asking for the Second Chance Act. And I'm like, why did you do that? Why? Why would you do that when we clearly told you how the plan should be executed? You can do what you want. But when you start meddling in things that you don't completely understand, or you think you understand, that's sometimes when the rug gets pulled out from underneath you. Sometimes we got to take a step back and realize we don't have all of the answers. Just like for some reason there's prison consultants out there running around saying you can't get RDAP with the Second Chance Act. So what happens is when they're corrected, when you correct them and say, no, you can, they don't want to admit they were wrong. So instead of saying, yeah, they were wrong, or yeah, they were misinformed, or yeah, they just didn't know and they were just guessing, instead they go, oh, no, you can't. The only reason he got it is because he had a 5K1 or he snitched. That has nothing to do with getting additional halfway house time. All that has to do with prior to getting sentenced. That's your 5K1, your downward departures. That has nothing to do with getting additional halfway house time. You do not have to have a 5K1 to get additional halfway house time. So if anybody's giving you weird, conflicting information like that, do your own research. And I guarantee you, the research that we do is coming from facts. We are not guessing these things. This isn't some guessing game. Your guys' lives are at stake. You're putting so much trust into your attorneys, into your prison consultant. You're putting a lot of trust into people. But you need to do your own homework and your own due diligence, because at the end of the day, if the door slams in your face, you can't go, well, they told me this, or they guided me the wrong way. 2255, ineffective counsel. Great. Join the other million people that are going to file the ineffective counsel. What happened here? The other million people that are going to file ineffective counsel motions to try to get their case relooked at, because now they're not happy with what their attorney did because they found out things after the fact. Fortunately, guys, it's common practice to see a lot of this shit go south in the courtroom. So it's up to you now to start studying, getting a handle on things, understanding. We are here to help. We are not here to make your life more stressful. We are not here to treat you like RDAP Law Consultants has. We gotta throw them under the bus one more time before the video is over. We are here to put you into a better situation than you are in. We want to see you with a positive outcome. Positive outcome is a giant word that means many different things depending on the person. Yesterday, for Kyle, that was a positive outcome. 120-month sentence, but the fact that he got the self-surrender was a victory to him. He was not looking forward to going sitting in county, getting transferred. That was his biggest, not fear, but his biggest because he knows what county is like. Nobody wants to go sit in a county environment or a holdover or, a federal holding tank. You want to go straight to your prison and get those points reduced. So these are some of the things that we really, really try to stress and help you guys focus and believe in yourself and take responsibility. Talk to your family. Find out what they're thinking. How is this affecting people? When I hear people go, oh, we did our letters, they're amazing. Based on what? Who are you to judge how good a letter is? How many times have you gone to prison where a judge has read your letter? How many other letters have you read in the past that other people submit to judges? Until you've had enough letters to read, I don't think you can consider yourself, I don't consider myself an expert, but I consider myself as somebody that's seen enough letters to go, that letter probably isn't going to help because it looks like every other letter I've read. And it happens all the time. So many times somebody sends me a letter and they're so proud of their letter that they almost don't want us to touch it. And we won't touch it if you don't want us to. But we try to stress why this letter may not create the impact that they're hoping for. And more times than not, the people that we have seen receive probation, at least our clients that we've seen receive probation, were ones that got started early. They had amazing letters. They were out doing community service. They were they were involved in the mentor group. They were involved in community outreach where they were going to schools and speaking. And what happens is slowly their attitude starts to change. Their energy starts to change. They're no longer dwelling in negativity. They're out focusing on the positives of this, not focusing on every negative circumstance that they're faced with. That is the key ingredient, guys, is do not allow yourself to get negative. Where's Tony Robbins? Oh, he's in my bedroom because I was reading him this morning. Tony Robbins, I'm telling you, awaken the giant within. If you are in a funky spot right now and you can't get yourself out of it, and my videos aren't working for you, if these amazing RDAP Dan wristbands aren't getting you out of the funk, pick up Tony, Awaken the Giant Within, and read that book. Read it for 10 minutes. And if you don't start feeling better in 10 minutes, you are one self-minding, mutilating person to where you are just mutilating your thoughts no matter what. You're just a negative person. If you can't force yourself out of this negative funk with positivity, you need to seek some professional help possibly, because that will be a downfall in prison. I hear about people having these shitty times in prison all day long. And the one thing I notice is they complain about everything. Everything is a complain. There's so much in life to be grateful for. Not everything has to be how bad everything is. Try to focus on the positivity. Stay away from negative people. Surround yourself with people that are doing things for the right way. Do things that are uncomfortable. Make yourself do something you wouldn't normally do. And if you do it enough times, it creates a habit and you start to do this. You start to adopt it as part of your life, part of your everyday. Those are the things that are going to make a difference. Jesse. How much time, Jesse, and the judge almost never lets people self-surrender. Is it Wednesday, Jesse, that you get sentenced? 7 more days. So what's today? Today's Wednesday. Okay, so next Wednesday. What time is your sentencing, Jesse? And Jesse said he doesn't qualify for RDAP. Sorry to hear that, my man. But hey, you know, there's non-residential programs in there that you can still take. You can still get the benefit. You can still get the learning material that will carry with you outside of prison beyond the time off. 9:30, first thing in the morning. Well, you know, we're all praying for you. And, you know, I hope, you know, you can have somebody maybe send me a text or something letting me know if you do get sentenced, to how much time, you know, things like that, because we would like to keep tabs on you or at least hear from you. Even if you just want to keep in touch with me, I know you don't like outing anything, but if you just want to maintain that with me, I won't tell anybody anything personal. I'll just let people know, you know, he was sentenced and, you know, we won't hear from him for a while, but it's up to you. I hope you do, because, you know, we can create a mentor group for you from the outside. I'll be able to at least watch 2 more of your videos before my special day. Yeah, man. Hey, you never know. If your letters are done right and you've got things, you may be surprised. You may be able to self-surrender. You've been on pretrial for some time. So just keep the faith, keep hoping. Same thing we told Kyle yesterday. I told Kyle right before he went in, I was like, I got a feeling, man. Everybody here, this is a pretty positive vibe going on right now. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't get self-surrender. And his attorney was like, well, I wouldn't count on it. It's like, well, you know, why not? Count on it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're not going to get it? Okay, you're kind of expecting that, right? So let's go in there with that attitude, that smile, that charisma, that hold your head up high. Let's act like we're going to get it. So when you go into court, Jesse, be proud, keep eye contact with the judge, dress to impress. If you're going to get up and give an allocution, if you're going to talk about what you did, don't make it long-winded. Don't play the victim. Don't blame it on circumstances. Don't blame it on your upbringing. Say you know what you did. You know it was wrong. You know how it affected the community, whatever your crime was. You know the impact it has. You're willing to take this on the chin. You're gonna use this time to create better habits, to turn yourself into that person that you know you need to be for your family, and you want to return home a better person than leaving, and leave it at that, and let your attorney ask for self-surrender, and let prosecution either object it, approve it, have no say in it, and leave it up to the judge. That's all you can do. was not a fun day. It was weird being there yesterday. It was really weird being, so first time I was in a courthouse, sitting in a federal courthouse since my own sentencing in 2014. So it was a very surreal feeling. You know what was crazy is, let's say Florida and Georgia is the only two places I've been, because that my case was back and forth. You can't bring a cell phone into the courthouse. Here, I was like, I should record this. I've got my cell phone, but I figured, no, I'll probably, with my luck, something will go off. Beep. I'm like, oh, what's that? Nothing. But it was crazy being able to have a recording device in a federal courthouse. The judge, I got to tell you, the judge he seemed like a good judge. He didn't seem like a dick. He was against the minimum mandatory, but he couldn't do anything. His hands were tied. He even said, I'm against the minimum mandatory, Kyle. But you understand that just like you have to obey the law, I also have to obey the law. And I don't create the law, I just enforce the law. But I want you to know that I am against minimum mandatories, but I am forced to sentence you to the minimum mandatory of 120 months. And it's just like, damn, that is a rough beat to know the judge wants to give you less time, but he just can't. And the prosecutor could have made some exceptions to help him get under that. But because he wouldn't cooperate to the extent that they wanted to give him a 5K1, but he couldn't take it because there is danger involved with that. There's people on his case that he couldn't do that because it would cause danger to his family. And they don't care about that. At least that prosecutor didn't. So it was frustrating to see. Does he need a little bit of jail time? He might. He knows he's got problems. It wasn't a no victim crime. I mean, it was manufacturing, I think, of methamphetamine or distribution of methamphetamine. So he knows he was putting drugs out onto the street. He knows what he did. He's accepted the reality of it. He's accepting the punishment. Does that mean he needs 120 months? No. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, somewhere in that range probably would have been enough time to learn some new traits, get in and out of RDAP, learn some new behavior skills, learn how to deal with things like this, learn how to deal with his own addiction. 120 months is a long time. There's not many people out there that I think deserve 120 months. You've got to be a repeat offender. You got to be a stone cold killer. You got to be, doing some really, really bad things to deserve that kind of time. Making a mistake, even if it's dealing drugs, doesn't necessarily constitute such a lengthy sentence when way more violent crimes are getting way shorter sentences. That's just my opinion. My dad is driving me to court, and we will make sure we get there early. Gotcha. Like I said, please have somebody reach out to me. Even if they want to block their call or send it from an anonymous number, just send me a message. Let me know if you got remanded and how much time you got, and we'll update the community that you've started your federal prison bid. How much time are you expecting, Jesse? Did they give you an idea of how much time you're looking at? And you may have already said it in the room, and I just didn't see it. You've been here a long time. I wish I remembered. It's definitely been well over a year. You've been hanging out with us. Oops, what did I do? Dan, RDAP and the Second Chance Act helped me with a 24-month mandatory minimum. What kind of time? Yes, if you aggravated identity theft. 24 months is the minimum for RDAP, Derek. So your biggest, and yes, if you get into RDAP in time, you will get time off. A minimum mandatory does not mean you can't get time off, because you're still going to get good time. It just means that's what the judge has to sentence you to. You can still qualify for RDAP and get 6 months off. So here's how RDAP works, guys. So if you want to write this down, maybe some of you are like, how much time do you get off? What's it based on? So there's two parts to this. Two parts. Okay, first part. We're going to talk about how much time you need in order to get different times off for RDAP. So 24, write this down, 24 to 30 months can get you up to 6 months off for RDAP. 31 to 36 months can get you up to 9 months off of RDAP. 37 plus months can get you up to 12 months off of RDAP. Now, it's important to understand that doesn't necessarily mean, like for you, Derek, a 24-month sentence So there's a difference between a 24-month sentence, because you're going to get sentenced to 24 months. You don't know where you're going to go right away. You don't get designated the same day of your sentencing. They might make a recommendation. You might have an idea of where you're going, but you don't know until you get your official designation, which can take a few weeks. Once you get to the prison you're going to, unless you know when RDAP is going to start before you get there. Let's say you get to the prison today on a 24-month prison sentence, but the next RDAP class doesn't start for 90 days. Now you're getting into the program. So 24 months will automatically take a good time off the top of that. So you're going to minus 15% off of that is going to be gone right away. So that puts you under 24 months. You still qualify for the 6 months off. But if it takes you 2 or 3 months to get into the program, now you do not have enough time left to benefit any time off from the program. So what we tell a lot of our clients, and what we do for a lot of our clients, is once they get sentenced, especially in a situation like yours, to where it's an extremely low sentence that's right at the cusp of what you need to get into RDAP, once we find out where you're being designated to, either A, we'll have other clients or followers or people we communicate with in prison that are at that prison that you might be going to, and we ask them to go find out when the next RDAP class starts, or we get on the phone and we start calling down to the prison trying to get them to give us this information. If we can find out when the next RDAP class starts, and let's say, in your case, let's say it was starting 90 days after your surrender date. We know that's no good for you. So we would ask your attorney, well, we would help you with a letter, give it to your attorney, ask your attorney to try to file it for either an extension to extend your time out to your self-surrender, or to give you a sooner surrender date that would coincide to prior to the next class starting, to time it better so it gives you time to get to the prison and the next class start within the next couple of weeks, so you can benefit, get what you need to learn from the program, and benefit some of the time off. These are some of the things that we would do for a client that a lot of people don't think of. They think, well, you have to have a minimum of 24 months. I was sentenced to 24 months, so I qualify for RDAP. Only if you get into it fast enough. In most cases, most RDAP, it's not starting a week after you get there. It's usually every 60 to 90 days these classes start. So that's why we go and do these things for clients to try to get these extensions. And in most times, we see extensions granted. It's pretty common to see an extension granted as long as there's a verifiable reason. You have a substance abuse issue, you're trying to take advantage of a substance abuse program, and your sentence may be too short. If you get there right now, you may miss it. And if a judge understands that and it's worded the right way, and it's not just seeing that you're asking for extra time for no reason, most cases the judge will grant that. It's no guarantee, but it can't hurt to try. And then yes, you'll qualify for halfway house as well. On a 24-month sentence, I wouldn't expect to see any additional halfway house through the Second Chance Act, just because it's unlikely. But if you take RDAP, you're going to see at least 4 months of halfway house in addition to your 6 months off of the program. So with good time, RDAP, and halfway house, that's, a little bit more, right about, a year off, year to 10 months off of your sentence. So that can definitely benefit you for sure. That's with a minimum mandatory. Yeah, Jesse's getting down to that sentimental stage, man. This is where you really start appreciating the fresh air, appreciating the trees, appreciating sitting in your chair, having a remote control, being able to do things that you want to do when you want to do it. You really, really, really take a lot of that for granted. And the closer you get to going to prison, you start to realize all of these things are going to be taken away from you for a period of time. I'm just reading what you wrote, Jesse, seeing if you told us how much time you were looking at. Yeah, if you're going to break down in court, man, look, giving an allocution where you give your statement to the judge, if you don't think you can do it and holding your composure, sometimes it's better off not to do it, because remember, the judge is also used to seeing people cry and break down, and you don't really want to have him have that appearance going, oh, here's another cry, or I'm not even going to, there's no emotion you're going to get from that. I know you're not doing it on purpose, but just really, really be methodical with what you're going to talk about. We've done a lot, Kevin. everybody in here has done a lot. This has been a, for Jesse anyway, this has been a support group for him. I mean, he's damn near caught probably every episode. I can't think of many people in here that have probably watched more episodes. There was a time span where Jesse disappeared, or at least he wasn't chatting. So obviously we don't know if you guys are there unless you're chatting. But look, our whole goal, our whole concept is to put people in a better position than they were currently in. That's why we had such a hell-bent problem with what RDAP Law Consultants was doing, because not only were they hurting people, they were creating such a bad name for this industry that it makes people not want to trust anybody. It's already, who can you trust? Who can you trust? Should be the next video title. Who can you really trust? And you just, sometimes you feel like no matter what, somebody's trying to screw you one way or another. And we don't like seeing that, man. We don't want people to feel like they have to go through that. That's why we do these videos over and over and over again, because the same person you see up in front of this camera is the same person you talk to. How many of you have called me and been like, wow, I didn't expect you were really going to answer your phone. Didn't know if that was a real phone number. I mean, that would be pretty crazy, posting a BS number up there. But the same person you see here, the same person you talk onto the phone. This is why we have an amazing team. This is why, Jenny and Alex and Andrew and Shelly, this is why everybody jives so good together, because we're not here to crack whips, and we're not here to make your life harder. We enjoy helping people. Sometimes it gets stressful. Sometimes we get letters at last minute where people are getting sentenced and all of a sudden they go, hey, I need my letters by Friday. It's like, fuck. It's like we're going to do it, but man, it's like a little notice would have been nice, because nobody wants to rush through a letter. These are things that shouldn't be rushed. These are things that we should have time to communicate with you, ask you questions, interview about it, go back and forth to make sure the letter is genuine from you. And sometimes you guys throw stuff together and want this perfectly executed narrative or character reference letter built in 24 hours. Some letters are going to be better than others. The longer you give us to work on these and get to know you, the better your letters are. The more information you send us, getting your PSRs, getting paperwork that you can send in, letting us sometimes talk to your character reference people that we can get an idea of how they know you, where they want to go with their letter, giving them some direction and why that may not be the best idea, why this might be a better idea. But again, it's up to them. And sometimes we tend to get that middle ground from somebody where they're like, I understand. It's like they see the light. And then we get an amazing letter that now just needs some editing, some tweaking, some redefining, where sometimes we get letters and we're like, I would not submit this if this was the only letter I received. You're better off going in there with no letters. And we tell clients, hey, you need to go back to your friend or family, whoever wrote this, and tell them to not write this on their next time when they're on their way home from work. Don't write it in the car. Take some time, because this is your life. You are the one potentially going to prison, not me, not the attorney, not the people writing these letters. And if you're asking somebody to write you a letter, they can't take the time out of their day to be sincere, to be real with it, that might not be the best person to be writing you a letter. And I don't care who they are, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your son, your daughter. If they're not willing to put in the time and effort, they may not be the best person to be writing your letter, because this is a serious, serious situation that that you're requiring them to be super engaged, super accountable. And if they're not willing to be that accountable, don't use them, because it's only going to hurt you. Trust me when I tell you that. That's the truth. That'd be awesome, Kevin, for sure. Jesse, are you really asking me if you can text me? If I could reach through this camera and grab you by, I picture you a scrawny kid. I don't know why. I picture a scrawny Jesse that I want to strangle right now. I've been telling you to text, email me for like the last year and a half. And now you're going to ask me if you can text me a couple days before you go to prison? Of course. Text me, call me, we can chat. I'm not here to, I don't know what's going on in your world, and I'm not here to judge you at all. I understand what you're going through is a tough time. You've got enough stuff going on in your life than you need anybody to judge you or pass judgment on you. So yes, pick up the phone, Jesse. But what else we got going? That's about it. 47-minute video, not bad. Cup of coffee. Oh, did we talk about RDAP Dan wristbands? If Jenny, if you're still here, I don't know if you're still here or not. Jenny! It's funny, we're actually going to, you haven't done it yet, Jenny. We're going to give Jenny a piece of our mind right now. So as you guys know, this is the original Jenny. Maybe you guys don't know. You're like, why is he holding a paper doll up to the screen? It doesn't make any sense. So this paper doll that we named, or Shelly named, as you can see on the bottom, Jenny, which is because I always used to make the silly Forrest Gump accent, being Jenny, our creative writer slash like angel from the heavens. Since her name is Jenny, we've asked her if she would mind making this her icon when she emails people, because I thought it would be kind of fun. She said she would. She has a picture of it. So we are waiting, Jenny, for you to create that as your thumbnail. So when you email people, they get this, because I think it'd be funny. So a little backstory on this really quick. Shelly started sending this to me in prison, and we would sign it, and we saw how many times it could go back and forth from Shelly in prison to her mom, from her mom to me, and then back to her mom, then back to Shelly. And that's how many times we signed it, sending it back and forth. And we'd put the date on there when we signed it. So it was just something fun that allowed us to stay connected, even though we were apart. So Jenny's going to use that as her icon one of these days. But she's not responding, so maybe she's walking the dog. Maybe she's going to the bathroom. We don't know what Jenny's doing right now. But anyway, Jenny, if you're watching, make that your icon. For those of you that do want to get an RDAP Dan wristband, absolutely free. All you got to do is fill out this link, and I'll post it right here. Get your RDAP Dan wristband. It's also in the description. So if you're not watching this live and you do want your RDAP Dan wristband, it's in the description of the video. RDAP Dan wristbands are completely free, and they say RDAP Dan Community's method on them. Their intent is for you to not dwell on negativity when you look down and you see it. It allows you to pull your mind out of whatever funky area you're in, and you get your RDAP Dan wristband. There is an option on there. If you do want to leave a donation, you absolutely can leave a donation, and that goes to help the less fortunate who are inside the prison system already that need basic things. So guys, that's all I got tonight. Make sure, again, I'm not an attorney, not here to give you any legal advice. Entertainment purposes only. Got to say this because RDAP Law Consultants is trying to get people to scour my YouTube video to find where I'm giving legal advice, because they hate me for exposing their dirty ways. If you've been a victim of RDAP Law Consultants, please check in my video. There is the description of the attorney who is out of Michigan, where they are at. Is it Michigan? I forgot, wherever they're at. It's got the detective's information that I spoke to today that seemed very interested in learning more about the crookedness these guys are up to. So if you've been victimized by them, please reach out, leave a message. It might make a difference, it might not, but hey, can't hurt to try, can't hurt to reach out. All right, guys, I'm RDAP Dan. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week. I will see you guys on Saturday. Until then, people helping people, community is method, one day at a time. I love every single one of you, and I will see you Saturday. Peace.